All right, we are going. We don't have an official name. Jason Hedrick's show was thrown out there. The Niels was, what was the Niels Burgess show? What do we call this show? I kind of actually like that. I'm going to knock out a few things before I introduce my guest. I don't know what to expect. Everybody keeps asking me, what are you going to talk about? I'm going to talk about the same stuff that I always talk about. I'm not going to talk about anything different than that. I don't know how it's going to go. I've asked how long is it going to go. I don't know. I'm going to go with it. It's the first time. This was a big deal for me putting this together. It's been probably about 3 years in the making. I started begging Major to hop on board with this. And he was cool. He just said, hey, you do everything, I'll show up. And I said, all right. And I just didn't know how to do it. And I'm kind of lazy, and I'm a delegator. And then as fate would have it, I ran into this guy I work with, Kurt, who's Professor Woodstock?
Yes.
Okay. He's the tech guy, Professor Woodstock, and we even have an assistant for him. That's how serious we are about this show. And so he said he could get it going. He knew how to do it. He was kind of excited. So he was the missing link in this, and that's Kurt. So he's my first thank you, is my tech guy, Mr. Professor Woodstock. So I got back to Major, said this thing's a go. You want to do it? Then Major said, well, I don't really want to be famous. So, and he was serious.
More famous.
And so I had to walk him through that we probably won't be that famous. But then I've learned since then, you do want to be famous, you just don't want to ride my coattails, right? Is that how it worked out?
Yeah, you figured me out.
Yeah, well, in the book you're writing in your world travels. So I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever do another one. I hope we do. I don't know how long it will go. My plan is Major's always going to be my sidekick. Kurt will be here as many times as he wants to be. And I'm going to rotate my guests. But I have a couple first-time guests. I'm super thankful to everybody. It's crazy. Grown men got together on a Saturday to sit down here and do this.
The description of us is
yes.
questionable.
Yes. And from Facebook to my phone driving to work on a video to actually sitting here and doing this, here we are. So my sidekick, Major. I first came across the guy, I was COS. The name floated around there, Major Rogers, and they said he was a good athlete, and had no idea who the guy was. And I finally met the guy, and to my surprise, he was white. I don't know why I thought you were going to be a black guy. I don't know if that matters, but so that was just my initial reaction, wow, this guy's white. We ended up being roommates at Fresno State for a while, and you're at a speed, we're a little yin and yang. I'm kind of slow-mo, and this guy is always on the go, but he's the only guy at the table with podcast experience, to my knowledge. What's your show that you've been on?
I was I don't know what you're called, character on the Ray and Lorenzo show, which is a Adam Carolla produced podcast.
And so I had to have him. He coaches varsity water polo at Redwood.
Maybe.
Took him to the Valley Championship 3 years in a row. 4 years in a row. I'm sorry.
Yeah. For those of you who couldn't see it, I held up 4 fingers in a dramatic fashion.
That is true. You're like the Big Brother type? What's that called? The Costa Kid thing that you do?
Mentoring.
Mentoring. You're into that. Big Hunter S. Thompson fan. Travel the world. Dog lover.
Yeah.
And you're my Andy Richter, my Ed McMahon. What do you want to be? You figure it out?
Yeah.
Put you on the spot. Okay, you get back to me. All right, my first guest, Niels Burgess. We went to high school together. My first real, just where this guy is solid, we've had a connection ever since then. I showed up to your house. I don't know how old I was, young 20s. I was a little altered. Could not find the airport in a rush. And I just opened the door and I said, dude, you got to get me to the airport. And you hopped to your feet and you got me to the airport, and that was amazing because I would never do that for anybody. I just showed up at my house and said, "Get me to the airport."
Wow, I literally do not remember.
You don't? No. You guys lived together, and I was supposed to fly over to Vegas with Major or something, and
okay, that is coming back. To me.
And I was panicked, and somehow I found his house, and then Major wasn't even on the plane with me when I flew over there, but good times. You're into martial arts.
Yes, I enjoy Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's one of the things I like to do as a form of therapy, exercise, sort of all the above.
Yeah. And you got into that later in life.
I did. I got into it right at the perfect stage in life where my limbs and my joints were starting to deteriorate, that kind of thing, I decided to do a sport that would make visits to the orthopedist.
And you have a lot of medals.
Yeah,
every time I see you, you're getting gold in something.
I tend to do well if I'm in my age group, yes. Fighting younger guys, not so much, but there are a lot of us older guys out there that enjoy the sport and still have that competitive desire.
That's awesome. And the last thing is you're now a teacher, something else that you got into late in life.
Yeah, I made a switch in life to become a teacher. It was just a desire that I'd always had. I always knew that I'd have two careers, the second one being a teacher, and I really enjoy it.
Awesome. My last guest is Doyle Sewell. Goes by Raymond these days to some people.
Pretty much Doyle.
Just Doyle?
Just not the poker room.
Yes,
Doyle's the wrong name to have the poker room you can't play.
That's a good point. Good point. I always wondered if that was just a poker room incognito.
For sure.
Retired from the fire department here at the city.
Just over a year retirement.
You were a captain.
I was a battalion chief.
Battalion chief.
Don't demote me.
So that's more than a captain.
Absolutely.
See, I wouldn't even have known that.
Yeah.
So what's above the battalion chief?
In our department, the chief.
So you had
one boss.
Gotcha. I remember Niels' impact on me early on was getting me to the airport. This was one of the things where you've always had credibility with me, where I just thought this is a guy giving me good advice. We're at the golf course. I met with Monty, which is how I met you, through a mutual friend. I think that's how we met. And I'm out there putting, playing stymie with those guys, and you're getting ready to actually go golf. You're a good golfer.
Okay.
What are you now? What's your handicap now?
9.6.
And your best ever handicap?
5.7.
Yeah, I would never bet against you. We're out golfing or playing stymie, and I just got hired at the sheriff's department. We had 3 days off 1 week and 4 days off the next. I'm pretty stoked because I got a career job and I've got these days off. And I'm really excited to tell you. I was like, man, and you're a fireman, so you've got this kind of crazy schedule going on yourself. And I said, I get 3 days off every week. And I said, I get 4 days off every other week. And you just were you looked at me, you go, it'll always be about the 4 days.
Always.
And it took not very long.
About a year, that, right?
Not even.
Yeah.
It was always about the 4 days. You're just getting the 3 days away and you've got 4 days off. And I thought,
crazy.
So ever since I was like, yeah, this guy gives me worldly advice. You were a big part. When I originally thought about this show about 3 years ago, I kind of wanted to have some solid, always get people together, but that kind of became unrealistic. And even today, I'll tell you guys this is why I'm so appreciative to you. Even today, when my alarm started going off at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I was motherfucking myself. I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I getting together? So that you guys all showed up and came over here means a lot. I mean that. And that Kurt would take his time out of his day to put this all together. It's humbling. Anyway, so we're talking about this. I tell you, you say, what are we going to do? Why you want me? I said, I want you for some balance. And you said, okay. You go, what do you got? And I said, I got Major. I feel like he's kind of in the middle. I said, I'm going to try to be in the middle. I said, my other guest I got with you, I said, he pretty much, I think he's Democrat. We'll go over that. I'll let him describe himself. I said, he leans to the left. You said, well, I'm not a Republican. I'm Trump. I said, well, that's why you're on the show, man. I mean, that's why you're on the first guest.
Don't mistake me for a Republican.
Yeah, I know we have a lot of talks. I know right where you're at, but that's why you're here. And even for all of you, I hope you know this. It's not to beat up on anybody. Somebody might get beat up at any given time, but this isn't to pick on anybody. And
the first show you bring a dude that does jujitsu. I mean,
yeah,
come on,
exactly.
dude. We got all these snowflakes out there.
And
you bring
and
jujitsu.
the duct tape's over in the corner.
Come
you
on,
haven't
man.
seen that yet. Seriously, I have a lot of people on my Facebook page or people that I deal with. You represent, just the talks that we have, you represent a lot of people's views. I mean, seriously.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you do. You won the election. That's your sentiment that you have is a real sentiment that people have. And you do a real good job of getting out there, and it's genuine. And you were on Trump from day one.
Day one.
And the thing that I have liked, and why we have discussions, is, like you said, you're not loyal to the Republican Party. That's why you did this. You're just as fed up with them as you are the left, and you don't think he's beholden to that. We'll get into that stuff later, but that is so why I wanted you on the show. We have great talks, and you drive me nuts every day busting up my phone, but we'll get to that. Okay, I'm going to table some discussions, and we'll round table those and get into those, but just right off the bat, answer these in one word if you can, or a couple words, just as concisely as you can, just so people just get a little general background on you. We'll start with Major. Did you vote for Obama?
Yes.
Both times.
Yes.
Doyle.
Second time.
Not the first
Not
time?
the first time. I voted for Ralph Nader.
Okay.
Yes,
Both times. Just so you know, I voted for him both times. Describe yourself as religious.
No.
Doyle.
No.
Niels.
Agnostic.
Agnostic.
And what's that mean? That means like you're not sure, right?
Ask him, man. I don't like when people
Something
say
like
that.
that.
I think
I'd
it's
be
a
that maybe
cop-out.
too then.
That's a
I don't want to close the
topic.
door.
That's a separate topic.
But yeah.
It is a separate
So yeah,
topic.
so I'm not, like I say, I'm not quite sure. but
Nils
yeah.
just kind of routinely says, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Nils Burgess usually says, I hate Christians.
I know that's not true. I'll defend you.
So, I appreciate the opportunity to be on this podcast. You folks have a great day.
yeah. That's why we have Major here. He's funny. Okay, back to the real quick answers. Favorite sport to watch on TV, if you have one? Major.
College football.
Doyle.
Golf.
Golf.
Mixed
Niels.
martial arts.
Mixed martial arts. On TV, I'd say the NFL. I like it. Last question in this little, no, I have one more of this. Next to last question. Would you rather let Ted Cruz or the first random homeless dude you see on the street babysit your kids?
Ted Cruz only because there'd be more media scrutiny on him and it would make it harder for him to get away with doing it.
Yeah, and have you thought about this question before? Somebody ever asked, you're very prepared. Doyle.
Come on, Ted Cruz. I think Ted
Really?
Cruz. Yes, Ted Cruz. I think is a good person, just a weird person. I mean weird in the sense that
Do you want weird people
No,
babysitting
weird,
your
but not
kids?
weird in the sense that I think weird. I mean weird that that rather than go out and play sports or do that, he was in the cubicle reading the Constitution, memorizing word by word. So to me,
that doesn't bother me.
It does.
It's that he looks like a pervert.
He'd teach your kids how to light their farts.
Yeah,
and
I
how
just
to
doesn't
drink
seem like
beer.
no, he wouldn't. I just don't think he'd know how to have fun like that. I mean, he would just be too like he'd be going, okay, we need to read like 38 books.
His fun is finding a way to hug your kids for some
I don't
social
know, I don't
reason.
think-
All right, Niels, Ted Cruz or a random homeless man?
Yeah, so watching kids, that's women's work, obviously. So I would count on the fact that
You're a liberal.
that he would probably bring his wife. No, I'm from his perspective. He like, honey, I've got this job. I got to watch these kids. Can you watch them for me?
You guys give him way more credit than I do. I would seriously take a homeless person. All right, that was just so. No, I had one last question. I threw it over here. I couldn't read my own writing. This is not for me to get on to you about what you think about me, and it's not for those reasons at all. This is so anybody that's listening can just identify with what your answer is to this. So how would you describe it? One word, 2 words. Do you right, middle, more left? Just how do you think I am, just for you?
You?
Me. No right or wrong. I just want I want them to relate to you.
You're a rhino, I guess.
Okay, fair enough.
No, liberal.
Liberal. That's from Doyle.
What am I?
What do you think? What do you think I am? There's no right or wrong. I want the listener to relate to you. Like that was good. He thinks I'm a liberal. He says I'm a rhino. Like, what do you think I am?
I think you're a left-leaning libertarian.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I agree with you. That wasn't about right or wrong, but that's a good way to describe it. Here we go. I'm gonna start throwing out some topics. The first one, I think it's the elephant
You
in the
want some
room.
whiskey, Nils?
How we doing? Any crackles, Mr. Professor Woodstock?
Hitting the table.
Who's doing that? Me? Everybody?
Just about everybody.
These guys that are drinking
But-
Jim Beam?
You know
Do we
what
got
else?
pictures of this, Mr. Professor's assistant?
It's good though. I mean, I can.
Part of the show, right?
It's part of the show. And you need another refreshment? He needs another one. Where's our Mr. Professor's assistant?
Kind of like the apes.
Okay. The elephant in the room, Trump. It'd be hard to talk about anything without talking about our new president. So I'm going to throw that out to Doyle. What do you like about him? You liked him all from the
Liked him
beginning?
from the start. I feel like I watch politics. I shouldn't say watch politics, but I've seen things through 54 years. And he's the first person that I felt like was authentic, that was willing to say things that I think a lot of us feel that are have somehow now gotten to a position where it's almost not just unpopular to say, but maybe career-ending, or put you in some difficult situations. So I feel like here's the guy that's finally doing it. And not only did he do it, and maybe when he might have misstepped, did he not just apologize? He actually doubled down and he stayed with what he thought. And I feel like those are the kind of qualities, if I'm looking for friends, I like people that are authentic and people that feel and say who they are. And if they have their rough edges, I can live with that if they're authentic and they believe something. Like I said, like you, right? So I just think that Trump has hit all the right chords. I feel like in any time I would have liked Trump. That's the thing for me. It wasn't like for this time, it was because Hillary Clinton. No, I think that she might have been the worst type of candidate that we would ever want to see in our country, but it wasn't.
Because she's a woman, though. Let's be
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Absolutely, a little bit.
No, zero.
She's an older woman.
She is an older woman. She is an older woman. But no. I mean, like I said,
She's no Melania.
No, she is definitely no Melania. They're for sure about that. So anyway, I just felt like Trump has said a lot of things, and then I think I'm most encouraged by the things that he has said. I mean, so far in 3 weeks, he's pretty much tried to follow up on everything that he said, and people are surprised that these things are going on. Like, he was only saying this to get elected, and now he's doing it. I feel like that is the ultimate in what we need from our politicians, to whatever you believe, say, and then when you get in there, do what you said.
That's actually the scary part.
Go ahead. If you want to. This is Niels. Go ahead. Go ahead. Well,
yeah, I mean, that's the scary part, is he actually is trying to do. I mean, I agree with you on that. From that standpoint, I commend him, but that's part of the issue.
Yeah.
Major's making people laugh.
Yeah. So the concern that I have is precisely that he became this empty vessel through, in which people kind of filled their fears, their concerns, their wishes, their desires. He became this empty vessel with kind of a glowing, reflective orange sheen. And they he became whatever people wanted him to be, and knew that if he kept kind of stroking those fears, stroking those wants, those desires, those concerns, those fears, that he could get elected ultimately. The problem, the concern I have with that is that that's not necessarily leadership. You take people to a place based on your vision, not based on what you think they want to hear. And so that's my view on Trump, is that he's a ratings guy. He knows what will get ratings, and what he's done is he's transferred that popularity into the electoral process, and I'm concerned about that.
I think you're right that he has done that. But I think what's encouraging for someone like us is that if you are continually saying the same things, to me it tells you that it isn't like he's trying to make things up. And I guess that's why to me it's so ironic when they start talking about the election being hacked and what have you. Said really what it showed is what really goes on, right? And it shows that Mrs. Clinton, before she was going out to talk, they were prepping her, because sometimes they knew the questions, but even before, they're still telling her what to say, and then would even say at the end to smile. To think that you have to tell somebody what to say and then to smile. I'd rather have somebody who says what they think, whatever expression is natural to come. But like I say, maybe people nowadays seem to be more concerned about, you talking about fears. It's not about fears. I think that there's some real concerns in this country. I mean, you can look at a lot of things, and I'll just say I'm a lot older, a few years older than you guys.
You're not as older as
10 years older than you guys.
Less than that. But close.
I just feel like that, I don't think that see things as gotten better in the big picture, and even in the small pictures. When you say about the fears of things, I mean, has race relations been better over the last 8 years or worse? Mm-hmm. So I mean, that's my concern. I am for everybody, but I want everyone I'm for to be for me.
It is absolutely fear-based.
Go ahead.
Politics always are. I had to grow up in the 80s terrified that the Russians were taking over the world. And then in the 90s, I had to be terrified because Japan was buying everything. Japan was going to own America. Then that moved into China was going to own America. Then it moved into swine flu and
Ebola. Don't forget the Ebola.
Right? And another bird flu.
Bird flu or something, yeah.
And then now it's landed on terrorism, and it will get you elected, even though, what are the stats? That one of us, an American, it's 1 in 10 million you'll die from a terrorist attack, and 1 in 20,000 you'll die in a car wreck. Yeah, we all get in our cars every day and don't post on Facebook, wear your helmet, double up on seatbelts, don't drive, there's a better chance you're going to die. We focus everything on a 1 in 10 million dollar chance, and it's all because of fear. And bans are born out of fear.
Can I add to that point?
Go ahead, and then I'll hop in.
Major makes a good point in terms of irrational fear. There's nothing wrong with fear and concern over legitimate, pressing issues in our country, in our society, in our world. And I think that Trump has tapped into some legitimate ones. But the number one concern he seems to be focused on right now is domestic terrorism. Not domestic terrorism from within the country, American-bred terrorists, but he's worried about terrorists coming into this country and causing harm. And that's where he's devoting all of his energy. You have, statistically, over the last 10 years, you have a greater chance, and this is true, you have a greater chance of being killed by your own furniture than being killed by a foreign terrorist. Think about that. You have a greater chance of being killed by your own furniture. So, I think from that standpoint, we need to get real with real concerns and real problems in this country, and not latch on to these what I would consider to be fake concerns.
What is one of you said Donald Trump has legitimate fears that he portrays through politics. What do you consider one of Trump's legitimate fears?
I do think there is a trade imbalance, and I think that part of that trade imbalance is grown out of the global growing pains of a world economy. And I think that there are corporate interests at play there that make it difficult for the average American to adjust to, for instance, a company like Apple Computer, not really manufacturing anything in this country, or automotive companies moving their manufacturing overseas as things start to expand and they're looking for localized global manufacturing.
But let me ask you: are you explaining a fear or a frustration?
Well, I think the fear translates to frustration, but the fear ultimately is, in my own life, I fear that I don't have a job. I can't provide for my family. And then if I'm sitting every night around the dinner table with a gaggle of kids that I'm trying to feed and struggling to get a job, I worry for them that in the future I'm having to take this American first world wealth now and spread it all over the planet with China, with all these other countries that are emerging because of this globalist trend, and that America's wealth now is going to be dispersed throughout the world. And Trump tapped into that, and it's got some legitimacy from the standpoint that we're not doing this well. We're doing it, and we're doing it sort of in an anarcho-capitalistic way where we just let corporations, determine for us what,
Easy.
Yeah,
That's the house band.
No warming up the trumpets.
Doyle has exited the building for some reason. This has become overwhelming for him.
Let's out of the building. Everyone say something negative about Doyle. Niels, go ahead.
Yeah.
Why are you making a pussy symbol with your hands, Niels?
I don't want to filibuster the conversation, but ultimately that is, you asked the question, has Trump tapped into a legitimate concern? If there is any concern, I think that one is legitimate.
Without a doubt.
I don't like how he's handling it.
I don't think most Americans, you're correct.
Yeah.
And you legitimized it. I don't think most Americans go that far with it. I think that's not what he's selling, but you're right. You answered
The concern ends at the dinner table for them. The concern ends at their own job security and the job security of their children's futures.
Is that your boycott?
No, my daughter was locked out of the house after doing trouble.
All right. We'll teach her that personal responsibility.
He knows that people are feeling this fear viscerally. He knows he can't go to them and explain it in the way that I just did to you. But the big problem that I have is that he knows this is a legitimate fear, but he has no intention of fixing it.
Okay. I'm going to chime in. the statistics and the fear. You guys know just outside of here that I totally agree with you. I think that stuff's overblown. I do think he's used it as a vehicle to get where he wants. He is selling whatever it is that people want to hear. Having said that, I'm a psychology guy. You hear me say that all the time. So forget Donald Trump. And I feel like this is kind of how the Trump voters feel. If it doesn't matter, even if you don't think he's going to do that stuff, I think he's surprising that he is starting to do it. I think we're all kind of surprised. I think we thought
I'm not.
it wasn't. Well, fair enough. I didn't hear you, and fair point. But I'm saying we do seem surprised that he's doing the things he said he was going to do. So only because I thought he was doing what you said he was and just getting where he's getting. Here's the thing. So I agree with you on the statistics and the furniture and all that stuff. Still, psychologically, it's a real person, a real mindset, a real religion, a real country that desires to kill you. So even if that figure is minuscule and less than a hammer killing you or a dog bite, I get you, but that's life and those things happen, and we know if we drive a car we'll get killed. That's a part of having a car, or a plane will go down. That's different than a person wanting you to die and wants to kill you. So even if Trump is just selling the product, whether he wants to do it or not, the people that see it that way, and I think I'm trying to shoot it like just the bare minimum. There's people that see it way more extreme than me. They do see people dying and they watch the chants and stuff, and it's real. I mean, there's people that really want us to die. That's unsettling for them that they don't have a voice. So even if he was fake, they're still happy that their voice is being heard. Their voice wasn't being heard. They've felt for 8 years now that our president, Obama, would not use the word radical Islam. And that, from everything I've gathered about the election, that was the one unifying thing between all the demographics that voted for Trump, was he was just willing to call it what it was. What do you say about that?
Well, first of all, I'll back up and I'll say that I certainly understand the appeal, the emotional appeal to that. But I...
Sorry to interrupt you because I asked you a question. Do you agree with that? I mean, you're the Trump guy. I mean, what I said right there. Kind of?
Yes.
Kind of. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Kind
Okay.
of. Yes.
Fair enough.
I'll let him say what he thinks.
So on that premise, I agree with that emotional appeal. I think it's very effective to say, look, these are you turn on the news, you see ISIS, you see the heads being cut off, you see these guys, death to America and so forth. That's very scary stuff, and it's what makes that kind of thing very effective as a way to decide policy when it comes to foreign policy, domestic policy, that kind of thing. And by the way, those folks, ISIS and others, they know exactly what they're doing, and in fact, they've super produced that message in order to get at the American psyche and have us react to it viscerally and reactively. When Obama did what he did in terms of not calling it radical Islamic terrorism, he was playing long ball in his strategy. He was thinking about long term how we stem the tide of these radical elements.
Right. You almost sound like Jason. I mean, almost what you should be saying after Jason said, we need to be their friends. That's what Jason would say right now.
It's not a friendship thing. It's not a friendship thing. It's a, let's realize that there are hardcore radical elements within Muslims, the Muslim community. There are those that are right on the verge, right on the edge, and then there are moderate and peaceful elements of a 1.4 billion population
I think
of
that's
the
where you
planet
miss
Earth.
it. That's where you miss it. Go ahead.
So my point is that ultimately you're not going to win a battle of ideas with cluster bombs. You are going to win more enemies. And what Trump has done essentially is he has made himself a poster boy ultimately for the radical Islamists to continue to recruit individuals that are on the edge, to recruit individuals that said to themselves, you know what, I think that the Americans are on our side, but ultimately I really don't like the fact that my whole neighborhood just got destroyed because of some other elements, nefarious elements that are in my neighborhood. this becomes a tipping point for them. Trump becomes a tipping point for them, and it becomes a catalyst for other Muslims who might have been more moderate to say, you know what, yeah, these guys are against us. And you know what, we need to join the ranks of our brothers, so to speak, because Trump has made this a religious war. It's an escalation that I think is more dangerous than simply doing things by example, doing things that tap into the more moderate elements of the Muslim community and religion.
And what are those? What are those? That's their
Hold tight, because
right
I thought that I have it written down here where when I brought up the ban, where we could go. There were so many places we could go, and we still might. So I thought religious war might be one of them. So I want to just pause. I think we'll get there, but I want to respond a little bit to some of the things he says. First of all, I agree with Doyle that I really do agree with you most of the time on that stuff. I do think it's going to take us getting along with them more than it's going to take the fear stuff that the other side's pumping. So he's right. I agree with you. Here's the points I'd like to make, and I'm going to toss this to you, Doyle, is the propaganda stuff, where if Trump says something and that turns up in a video, that's kind of bullshit to me, because they're going to paint us out to be the bad guy no matter what. And sure, we're going to give them plenty of ammo to do that, but we can't tiptoe around to avoid giving them propaganda. That to me is weak sauce. If we're really talking real stuff, well, he's giving them propaganda, and I hear that all the time. But anyway, I think that's bullshit. I just want to throw that out there for you to think I'm liberal. I think that's weak sauce. One point that I want to make, and this is where I'm tossing it over to you. I do agree with you, Niels, that it is a small percentage of them. That's the truth of it. And as a people here at this table, and especially me, I see so many similarities in just our chosen religion here in this country. I know that offends people. I know we're definitely not anywhere where the Muslims are at this point. But I'm saying I battle against that crazy way of thinking in my mind. And I'm not here to belittle them, and I don't even have anybody really here to represent them. So it's not here to bag on Christianity. But I'm trying to table real things. But here's the point that I think Doyle would agree with. I'm tossing it to him right now. That is a small percentage, but then you say most of them are moderate. Here's where I feel like the people, the Trump supporters especially, and maybe even more than just Trump supporters, they're not comfortable with the Muslims moderate. It might be fair game if Christians had some wackos and Muslims had some wackos, and here we are on the table. But we all can see that Christianity's normal people, they do some screwed up shit. We still fight over gay rights and stuff like that. They're far from perfect, but they are moderate. We brought them to the 21st century. Is that what we're in? I hate to be so stupid. They're in the same century. The Muslim religion isn't, and their moderates aren't really moderate, and I do think that bothers a Trump supporter. Go ahead.
I think that's exactly when he was breaking down these percentages, and I'm like, here's where I think you've missed it. I mean, and man, I can tell, man, you're articulate, man, what a smart guy you are. And I'm not, and I'll talk just like an Okie that I am. But where you've missed the boat on this thing is that surely there are, and as I said, there's those extreme Muslims, right, that are going to cut your head off. And I used the Charlie Hebdo, right, the guy from France that did the cartoon of the prophet and what have you, and they killed him. And I guess there's a big population of Muslims in like Minnesota and Michigan. So they go there, and these are moderate Muslims, right? And they ask them to a person around the thing, what do you think should happen to someone who draws a picture of Muhammad? They thought that they should die. So I guess that's the difference between an extremist. They will slice your head off, but the moderates think it should be cut off. And to me, that's not even compared to Christianity. Christianity thinks you're going to go to hell if you do all these things. Okay, great. Mormons might think you do this. Sheiks might think you go here. But no one thinks that if you do these things that you should die. I mean, I say, hey, it's great that they don't. And that's why, to me, you look at Germany, look at these places, look at every place that Muslims, the primary religion, and human rights couldn't be any worse. And so, to me, in our country, that's the thing I guess I'm trying to lose with the generation now. It's like, this is our country. Let's only bring in the best. If there's a chance that one refugee that wants to do damage to one, you use the stats, I don't care. if it's, 1,000 people's beds fall on them and they die. But if one person that's a refugee comes over here and even President Obama's people said they couldn't vet these people. Well, guess what? You can't come. You can't come. And to me, at this point, I only want people to come that are going to be doing for us. I don't want them to be on our systems anymore. I want them to be providers. If you had a job, you just got hired for a job at some school, right? Well, they're not looking for anybody. They're looking for who's the best to bring into our campus. Well, we got to look to see who's the best to bring into our country. If you can come and if you can break down the atom and you can do these different things, you're the best bricklayer there is, come on in. You can pick oranges like no man. Come on. But if you are nobody and you're just going to use the resources that are here, why would we want to take them out of the goodness of our heart? I don't have that goodness for me right now.
You know why? The only reason why Christianity and some other religions aren't more like the Muslim religion?
Mm-hmm.
Because Christianity became politically correct. Because they used to say, kill people if they work on Sundays. They used to say, by the spear of his sword, make them a Christian. At some point we quit saying that. So do we believe less than these Muslims that continue to take their religious word verbatim?
No, I believe less.
Has the Bible, do you think God's changed his mind since the beginning?
Like I said, I'm not real religious.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so
that's fair enough.
Yeah, I'm not real religious.
Okay,
Yeah.
Right. My point, though, is what I think a lot of people say that, like the Muslim religion is based. Well, the Christian religion is based in a lot of those prospects. We don't act on them. But what's odd is maybe God, modern day Christians, most of them have taken that God has mellowed out, or apparently it's okay for gays to marry or whatever, because that's against what their rule book is.
Part of it was they brought the New Testament.
That is part of it.
That's what I think you guys should think about, is somehow learn how to do Hebrew, make a new Quran Testament, start making like 10 of them, throw them around the world somewhere.
Hebrew.
Let somebody,
Not Hebrew.
like wasn't it Joseph Smith that came across the gold bullions and told them all these things? Well, maybe some Muslim can come across the new Testament of the Quran.
Doyle, point of clarification. If there is going to be a New Testament for the Quran, it will not be in Hebrew.
What is it? What would
will not
it
be in
be?
Hebrew.
As I told you,
Yeah,
would it be in
that's
what?
where
I
Big
told
Lady,
you.
but-
Dishmangoki, would it be in Dishmangoki? I could write it if it was.
Can I address a couple points?
Yeah, quickly. My tech guy wants to take a break, so should we just take it and come back? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. I don't even know if you'll
This
notice it on
session
your
brought
end.
to you by Brian Tech Pest Control. Today's Pest Control tomorrow.
All right, we're back from a
Trying to
short
lose some.
technical break. It makes it easier on our tech guy to upload this stuff in shorter segments. So since we're paused, I had some little things to do between topics. We've only made it on 2 topics, which I kind of thought it might go this way. I was prepared for whatever. It's going good, in my opinion. But one of the things I wanted to do, just for fun, he didn't like the knock, so that was going to be like your buzzer, but we'll just blurt out your answer. We'll judge it. Very quick trivia. I'm going to keep some scores. We're going to have 2 rounds.
Right.
This is going to be round 1.
That's where, here we go. They're exposing the dummy.
This is good.
We already know Major's going to win this one.
You want to hear something funny? I actually thought
Can it be sports trivia?
this
I'm
is
good at
brand
that.
new to everyone. You're on
Can
the
it be
very
mixed
first
martial
show.
arts?
No one has any idea what
Can
it
be
is.
Major Rogers.
I did, and I told Major this. I thought about having 3 answers that are real answers to these, and actually giving them to Major, and even telling you guys that he has 3 answers, but he wouldn't know which questions they go to, and then kind of screwing with him. But no one knows the questions, so they're very quick. There's not a ton, but we're gonna act like there's a timer going. We're gonna do a lightning round. I'm gonna keep score. We'll stop. We'll go back to talking. Maybe we'll finish up with the trivia and see who the winner is. So just blurt out your answer quick when you think you know it. Who was our 2nd president?
Quincy Adams.
Is that right? I don't even know. I think I should know those.
No.
Anybody disagree? Sure it's not John Adams?
I'm not sure.
John Quincy Adams.
John Quincy Adams, same guy, I think.
Didn't he have a kid?
Big John Turner.
John Adams didn't have a kid that was president too?
I don't know.
God, that's my very first question, and I don't even know the answer.
Gosh, don't make it. You can't have questions you don't
All
have
right.
the answers to. You gotta have the
Sure,
answers.
you better edit all of that part out. Okay, here we go. This is supposed to be quick. I didn't even know the answer to my first
No, you might have been
question.
right. Leave that in
I
there.
can't believe you don't know.
I'm not good on history.
I thought like you guys would all blurt that out at the same time. I didn't even think to look it
How
up.
about
John
the lineup?
Quincy Adams.
How about the lineup? For
Is
the
that the same guy?
Red Machine.
Quincy Adams is John
John
Quincy.
Quincy
There
Adams.
is no Quincy Adams. Yeah, that's why.
Major wins the first round.
Did you? I learned something.
Where's Tom Seaver from?
Fresno State.
Yeah, come on. Those are
Fresno High.
Settle down. We've only had one question. This
right.
isn't lightning round like I thought it was. Here we go. Lady Gaga performed at this year's Super Bowl. Who performed at last year's?
I heard that one. Vito Miles or whatever the guy's
Nobody
some kind
knows
of weirdo
this. I
deal.
did not look these
My
up.
daughter
I guess
told me it's
no one.
something. The guy came
Coldplay?
in, but the other guy came in and
Bruno
stole
Mars?
the show.
Is that guy?
He
Where's he
stole
at?
the show. Bruno Mars.
Bruno
He
Mars.
stole the show.
Oh
from
my
those
God,
people
I'm
used to-
horrible at this. I thought you guys would know the answers. I didn't even look some of these up.
Take that back. There is a John Quincy Adams, 6th president, John Adams, 2nd president. He did have a son who was the 6th president of the United States.
Okay, so I did learn something
won
about
that
you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah.
I don't watch half
That
the
he
shows anymore.
won it wasn't my surprise. That none of us knew is really my surprise. That I don't even know the answer to my own question. Here we go. What show starred Bob Denver?
Gilligan's Island.
Okay. I haven't. No one's. Has anybody got? No. You've got. Tell me right.
I've gotten two, and he got one.
He didn't get one.
No.
Our tech
He
guy.
said Bruno Mars.
did.
though.
That was our tech guy.
No, I did too.
know, but
I
he
said
said
it wrong.
But he
I
said
said
it
it
wrong.
wrong.
But I
He
didn't
had
know.
it. He had it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was right on my list.
Okay. We got to give these Trump guys sleep.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and forfeit now, though. If any of the questions are going to be about shows from the 70s or 60s, because we will lose them against Major.
Man, we're 3 questions in. You guys protest.
What'd you say, John Denver, Gilligan's Island?
Yes. Really. Okay, so here's the thing. This bonus, this is only for you because you got the last question. 2 bonus points if you can. 2 bonus points if you can sing the full theme song and partial credit if you give it an effort.
Of what?
Gilligan's Island.
Oh, just sit back, right back, and you'll hear a tale about a fateful trip. It happened on this tiny ship. The skipper was a sailing man, first mate brave and sure.
Ooh, that's good.
My passenger said sail that day on a 3-hour tour. A 3-hour. All right, I'm giving you partial. That was
The boat sets between Tehachapi and Mojave now. You seen it? USS Minnow. It's right there on the side of the road.
That was about 5 bars past what I could
This
have
is
done.
hardly. I think I could have. Yeah, that was good. I'm very good. Who is known as the Golden Bear?
Jack Nicklaus.
I'm giving that to Doyle.
Told you,
We
sportsman,
got-
I'm all of it.
Hey,
I'll kill you guys on that.
Settle down. And here's another one right up your alley. What's Trump's middle name?
John Trump.
God, I mean, yes, but how do you guys not know
Dude,
this,
man, I love that dude, man.
Donald
Yeah.
John Trump, man.
I love
Okay,
that dude.
Casey Kasem voiced what cartoon character on Saturday mornings?
He was Scooby-Doo. He was Shaggy.
You're very
No
right.
kidding,
She
awesome.
was Shaggy. And you'll win the game right now if you can tell me what Shaggy's real name was. Like, I've never heard this. I just saw this one. I actually did look this one up. It was Norval Rogers. You could have won the game.
Might have been Kinfolk.
You could have won the game with Norval Rogers. I should have gave you that as one of your answers. Okay, and who got Casey Kasem? Shaggy, you did.
Yeah.
Okay, you got a point. I got to get you on the board. Here's a bonus just for you. What was the name of his popular radio show?
American Top 40.
You had exactly a bonus
Still
point
right.
for American Top 40. All right. In miles, how far is the moon from the Earth?
180,000.
230,000.
You're in the ballpark. I think it's closer to 250, but I'm going to give you credit for it.
I say 180, and you go, no.
Well,
gonna put my phone
you
down
know
and
what
try to
reminded me?
think I
What
would've really
reminded me of? I was
embarrassed
going to say you're locked out of the next question if you guess wrong, but you guys
You know,
haven't really been guessing wrong, so I didn't want to.
somewhere
do it, so
in
I was
Major's-
thinking when I said no. I was
Somewhere in
like,
Major's world, being 50,000 miles off is in the
yeah,
ballpark.
and it might even be 70,000 miles off. Okay, who is the creator of Jeopardy, the game show?
Will Ferrell.
I like it. Really? Yeah, I thought you guys were going to be a brighter bunch.
No,
It's
I'm
Merv- I
Merv.
think it's Merv Griffin.
Murph Griffin. Yeah, that would
I
make
think
sense.
it's Merv Griffin. All right. What was the real name of Captain Kangaroo?
No.
Nobody? There was a bonus question. Mr. Green Jeans, I'm sure you don't know. Bob Keeshan, Hugh Brannon. For all my old listeners out there,
Yeah, but-
somebody knows that answer.
Sure, but the
somebody
memory-
feels smarter than all of you. Somebody listens to
not
this
smart,
guy
it's-
talk.
Memory.
No, they're smart. They know
It's
Mr.
memory
Green
unless
Jeans.
you're winning, and then
Yes.
you're smart.
But if you're 70 and you
You need
remember
your
Hugh
brother
Brannon,
over
aren't
here.
you
That
kind of
dude-
smart?
So is that your
Memory
target
like
audience?
nobody knows.
Guys that would never know name a
knows
Captain
somebody
Kangaroo?
Target audience, but you
telling you.
gotta. There's somebody out there that feels good they knew that and you didn't know that. Okay, what is the highest grossing movie of all time if you include inflation? Like if
Titanic.
all things were fair, no. If all things were fair, what's the highest grossing movie of all time?
Is inflation?
If you include it, all things being fair.
Jaws.
Gone with the Wind?
Gone with the Wind. Very good. Bonus question for you. Without inflation, what's made just the most money all time?
Oh, what's that space movie? The one with the green guy, the tall green guy.
I think you're right, me.
James Cameron.
Yeah, I'm going to give you credit.
Avatar.
That's Avatar. That is it.
Really?
I would have guessed Titanic. Before I looked it up, I would have
I
guessed
haven't been to the
Titanic.
movie in since 1989.
Any of those
Yeah,
movies that
Avatar
kids
beat
can go see a
Titanic.
bunch of times
Yeah.
always are the top things anyway. Okay, we're getting close to the end of the first round of trivia. Who was the lead female actress in The Sound of Music?
Julia.
Julie Andrews.
I'm giving he helped you, but
He did. Julia was the
yeah,
secret. It was
yeah.
Julia.
Here's the last one of this round, and we're getting back to some serious stuff. Just think you can do it. Spell Hawaii.
HAWAII.
Very good. So you man, you
Every-
made it come. And there's a
everybody-
bonus question.
Everybody who knows me is laughing. They said they did a spelling one. They did a spelling one. I
One of
guarantee-
our stage.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, someone out there, people that know me are laughing. They go, dude, they did a spelling one.
Major impulsively asked me how to spell it.
Here's a bonus question just for you. What year was Hawaii, the very last state, the 50th state? admitted to?
1952.
59. Just, you were getting shut out there, and you came on strong. You have 6 points, 4-4. You guys, it's good. It's going to be a good finish. They have something to
That's fine.
stick around for when we get back to trivia later on. So we could pick right back up. I think things were going fine. We had talked about the band. You talked about. You had written some stuff down. Did you know what you wanted to say in regard? Do you want me to fill out something else?
I think we should move on.
Okay.
He had some good points. I had some
Uh,
counters,
uh,
but we could spend probably all day.
I do want to just touch on this because I agree with you. I do want to move on to something else, but this is a little bit in the same lines. Is this a religious war? Doyle.
I mean, I said, in my mind, it is. It is really, and that's where I think that I'm a little, I guess, miffed on. I understand the whole issue of religion and what have you, but when the religion that is practiced, again, when the moderates of those religions think that someone should die if they, smear the prophet, I feel like, man, you call it what you want to call it, but I just don't understand how we get past that. That's the thing that, to me, is the elephant in the room, is that if moderate people, if the people that are everyday folks like us, sit around the table, and if they watch something on TV that says, oh, it looks like somebody made a cartoon of the prophet, and if everyone around the table believes that whoever did that should die, I just don't know how that could ever be consistent or manageable or can coexist in Western values, because guess what? We couldn't have this type of conversation, because you know what? Someone should die,
Does anybody disagree with him that it's a religious war?
I strongly disagree, because I think that well, first of all, you're talking about a global population of, I don't know the exact number, but 1.2 to 1.4 billion Muslims. It's one of the fastest growing religions in the world. To declare war, or to at least characterize a war between a massive society like that, that's a zero-sum game. There is no, to not try and find commonality.
Would it exist if the religion wasn't involved? Would we be at this place right now if that religion wasn't involved in the equation?
Absolutely, because I think religion is a vehicle of hate, but not a root cause. And I think the root cause of hate in these developing places is much more complex, much more difficult to pin down than just a religion. A religion is sort of a way for radicals to, in the same way that a cult brings in people to do stupid things, religion is a way to bring in vulnerable people to do stupid things. But let me just come back to
Well,
something
I
you said.
want to say, because I don't want to interrupt you, but because I so agree with you, it's the vehicle, and I so agree with you. It's human nature to do some of the things they're doing. They live on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
They're not in the same place we are. We all evolve our way. The religion, I totally agree with you, I've always said this, it's the vehicle that allows them to do this. But 100% on board with you right there. But that is what makes it a religious war, is because that vehicle is so impenetrable. Because in our day and time, that is so sacred that you can't have that honest discussion about it. Yes, human nature is in that vehicle. I'm with you. But that vehicle that they're delivering, this hatred, fear, desire, whatever they think about us, because we have to penetrate that vehicle, the religion, doesn't it make it a religious war? How does it not a religious war, being that that's their vehicle?
Well, that's so the way I would characterize it then is, we as a predominantly Christian nation, do we then characterize our side of it religiously? Do we
Well,
say
I'm totally on board with you. Go ahead.
do we say that because of our Christianity we want to kill them, if because of their
Totally.
Muslim religion they want to kill us? In other words, you can't call it a religious war without acknowledging then that for us it's a religious war, that Christianity wants to advocate the death to all Muslims. But let me just, there were some Muslims that were interviewed in certain parts of the United States, American citizens that were Muslim.
Correct.
And they were asked about the Charlie Hebdo killings, and said, they were asked, how do you feel or what do you think
should happen to the person?
What should happen to that person? I'm always very skeptical of anecdotal characterizations like that, interviewing certain people, because how I would counter that, and what I would say to you is that if you at any given time, right now, went out into certain corners of American society and asked those individuals, should Obama, for instance, be hung for whatever quote-unquote treasonous things he did as president, you would find, I guarantee you would find more than an uncomfortable number that would say that Obama should be hung.
No, you're absolutely wrong. No, that's where I think you guys have absolutely jumped up.
Well,
because it's easy to say, because I say you say that, but if you really watch what goes on. If you really watch who the people who will take it to the other limits, it's the left. I mean, watch what went on at Berkeley. Watch what they will actually.
When Trump's butler posted a meme that basically said, that inferred that Obama should be hung, right? Okay. Should we take that literally? Should we take that figuratively?
It's funny.
Yeah. There are, and I know that you struggle with this, Doyle, because I know that it runs counter to a lot of points of view, that the right is the sensible, reasonable side that wouldn't wish death upon anyone. But I can tell you, and I can bring just as much anecdotal evidence. That there are crazy, fucked up people in the world.
Sure.
On both sides.
Sure.
And it's important for us not to cherry pick those individuals and bring those forth as common popular opinions. Because when we do that, we completely distort the real argument. Again, we're talking 1.4 billion Muslims. If there were 1.4 billion Muslims that held the radical views of those individuals talking about Charlie Hebdo, you would have World War III on your hands.
That's where you're absolutely. But that's what I said earlier. If you think about everywhere though, you think about everywhere that the Muslim religion is the primary religion throughout the world, the atrocities against humanity
Bangladesh
is the worst.
Bangladesh, it's 99.9% Muslim.
Okay.
Large parts of India are largely Muslim.
And there are equal rights for women and all those kinds of things.
Well, they're on par with any other third world country. I mean, equal rights for women.
But that goes back to the point that that you're saying that their moderates outnumber these radical elements of them.
I'm just saying.
But what he's saying, but the point that he's making is
contrary to what
exactly,
we are.
and that's the point. And I'm agreeing with you. You're saying, do they agree with equal rights for women? Can they show their face in public? Can they drive a car? Can they vote? If they're sex objects, they sell them. They sell them with goats. I mean, I get you. Your point is, their moderates really aren't that moderate. They just might not be total whack jobs like the rest of them. I mean, but they still believe some weird stuff. They treat their people not well.
They behave like poor hicks. I mean, bottom line, they behave like they behave much like the United, like a lot of us here in the United States did prior to us becoming a first world country. And I think that's the context, that's the prism through which we need to be looking at this. Is that these are folks that...
Could you say that? Because I mean, my parents were kind of like hicks. And I mean,
But
really,
you were still
No, we were-
first
no.
world Hicks.
No,
You were first world Hicks,
we-
not third world
in
Hicks.
Arkansas, worked in the fields. I mean, my people were Hicks, man. So we're Okies. I had no.
Yeah.
So now that's why I say I think that's where I get a little bit, put off with the Democrats, because I mean it's like really.
But when he says Hicks, and this is where I agree with him, it's just like, it's human nature. It's not because you're from any one place. It's not because you're in a race. It's in any given situation, especially in a third world country, human behavior behaves this way, and so it makes us dangerous when we can't see ourselves in them, that we can't recognize that we do that.
I understand that, but I think though to compare Christianity, any of the religions that are practiced other than Islam in the United States, if you're a Mormon, any of those things, to compare those to being a Muslim to me is the craziest thing. It's
Now,
like night and day.
and I think that's a huge dividing
And you
issue in
think
this
about it,
country.
you look no further than what has happened to Germany. It was like, come on, everybody, and for whatever reason, was it they feel guilty of all the things that happened in Germany in the years gone by, so they felt like they're going to, cleanse their wounds by bringing all the people into the country. Their country's not their country anymore. Their country, whatever Germany used to do, used to be maybe in our country. California is not California anymore.
Let me. Do you have anything you want to say on this topic? Or no, just use your time in the wit. You're making me laugh. I don't know if they can hear you. I hope that you come through, but you make me laugh. So, kind of along the same lines, you kind of led us there. The courts on this ban, just to set it up for anybody that's not totally on board, this latest ruling on the ban was just, do we need to lift the stay? The stay being Donald Trump said, here's the ban. Then there was lawsuits, and then the courts put a stay on it, and then there was, I don't know, an injunction, I don't know what the word is. The Trump's administration came out and said, take that off right now. The courts came in right now. The latest ruling we've had is, right now, we're not taking it off. That's not the end product. The end product will be ruled on by the courts, whether it's legal for him to do this or not. Just the latest ruling was, right now we're not taking it off. We'll let the courts decide it later on. So that's where we are. Fair enough? I think we all see it that way. So here's the question, tabling. Does he have the authority to shut down our borders any way he sees fit, at any time he wants, in any country? Does he have the authority to do that? Doyle.
I think this is the obvious one.
I think
Yes.
he does.
I wish, like I said again, I wish I was a little bit smarter than I am, because somewhere it's like the ninth, whatever, of the Constitution of the President.
Yeah.
It basically, if you read it,
Right.
it says, aliens for any length, it basically says he could do it for any length of time, he or she could do it for any length of time that they feel right. And to me, this again is where I struggle so much, is just being, because a deplorable and just a middle stream America is like, why would we, I voted for President Obama one time. I wouldn't think that we would take that from anyone, if that's what it says.
And the second time, I just want to interrupt you. The second time is interesting to me. So you weren't like the first time and then you got mad at him.
Yes.
You actually came around the second time.
The first time I got mad at him.
So now that you're a Trump guy,
Reverend Wright.
You're not 8 years ago, Obama evolved to Trump over 8 years. You voted for Obama 4 years ago.
Yes.
We can talk about this. I don't even know if I brought this to the table, but you're not a big Obama fan. We can, I don't
No,
know.
I'm not
But
at all.
in 4 years,
Yeah.
you did vote for him.
Yes.
We're Obama fan, now you're at Trump. Anyway, I just wanted to get there. I think it's an interesting evolution. It's different than a lot of people's evolution.
Right, I voted for Obama because the other choice was McCain and Palin.
Right. Yeah, I hear you, but I'm saying still, it's an interesting evolution.
Yeah, so yes.
And that looks good right now.
By
No,
the way,
it does
let
not.
me add to that. The fact that Doyle did that, to me, I have to commend you for that, because I think that a lot of people don't realize a lot of Trump voters are principled America First voters. It's not necessarily just about blind party partisanship. It's about doing what they think is right for the country. At that point, you made a decision to say, look, I'm not happy with the vision that McCain and Palin have. I like what Obama's done so far. Let's give him another 4 years to do it. That, to me, gives you a lot of credibility, because what it says is that it's not just a partisan sort of, check the box. That speaks to the integrity of your desire to make sure that we do the right thing by America.
Right.
And I think a lot of Trump voters are in that place, and I think that's where Democrats really, they rely too much on that that blind sort of partisan party line thing to where they felt, come election day, we can just sort of toe the line with our voters and assume that if we pull all the same levers, they'll show up and they'll vote for us. But there are a lot of them out there like you that voted for Trump. And I think that if the Democrats are going to retool themselves and are going to really, really address the problems that exist within their party, and there are many that do, then they need to come back to a person like you, Doyle, and really understand what's going on. Because, we can't, we cannot burrow ourselves into this partisan divide any longer. And I think that that's probably, the Trump vote, the Democrat Trump vote, which is kind of what I'd put you under, the one-time Democrat Trump voter, is basically a sort of an anarchist fuck you to the establishment. And I actually respect that.
For sure.
If it weren't so goddamn dangerous for the country.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, like you say, that's like, see, that's what always is ironic, and you hear danger from, and I think, oh, gosh darn, as you look past the last 12 years, okay? I mean, have you been thinking like this country, we're in great shape, there's no dangers? To me, that's what's strange to me is, and we've seen this, like I said, again, 12 years. I could go back, years after years after years, and so it's like, now someone that's outside the whole box comes in, and it's been crap for all these years, no matter if you're a Republican in office or a Democrat in office. There's been so many things that go on, and you watch 60 Minutes from the time you're like 4 years old, and they're like, the military is buying this nut for $10, and you can buy it at Orchard Supply for $10. You're thinking, how does that happen? And so we have a guy that's not emboldened because he has his own money into the whole system. And why guys like you? Guys like you wouldn't have jumped on this bandwagon and said, no, we need to pull the right people from the left onto this bandwagon. And the right needs to pull the deplorables, because the truth is, the right didn't want me. I'm a deplorable. I'm really not the sophisticated that they would want for their, and I'm not religious.
You don't align on other platforms.
Yeah,
your religion's not there. Some of your views on drugs aren't the same as theirs.
But I try to be a Democrat. I try to watch what they do, and I try to say, okay, I'm for social issues. Whether it's gays, lesbians. I mean, I said I played sports through college. I played at Hayward. I have black friends to this day. I was sending a picture of my Trump hat to them.
I think they ran. I feel like they. I don't know, ran out's a bad word, maybe it's a bitter word, that they didn't want me. I feel like, put the words however you want them. They were happy to let me go. They were cool not representing my views. I feel like you are in the same boat I'm in. I feel like you, Major's in the same boat I am. The interesting part is that we just landed in two completely different spots. But I mean, we do have face-to-face conversations, or at least talk on the phone enough. And you're right. You might call fired up on me saying, how can you believe this? How can you believe this? Once we talk, I think you find out.
Sure.
Because what we do share is we are kind of here. They wanted nothing to do with us. And then where you landed from when they kicked you out. So you have no loyalty to them
right.
whatsoever. And I think he makes a great point that the Democratic Party's got to figure out how to reach you. And what's awesome is you're here telling them, this is where you're losing me.
Here's what I think about the Democratic Party, to be honest with you. I think the Democratic Party needs to learn how to lose their outskirts of that party. Because that's what I say. It's like, here's Niels, man. What a great dude, right? And then you're a Democrat. And then you watch really, if you were to pick teams, right? If you were to pick teams, and I'm going on this team that won here, and you went there, and you look around who's on your team. And here's what I tell Jason. I go, the things that you hooked your wagon to, the people that are there, the riots, the people that don't want free speech in college anymore, the guy, I don't know if you saw in Berkeley, sprays pepper spray on the girl. In my world, somebody would have grabbed that dude by the throat. He sprayed a girl because she had a Trump hat. And so how do you hook your wagon to that? Because I tried to, but it's like, I can't do it.
But Doyle, I don't hook my wagon to that. And this is part of the issue that I have, is that, there are certainly members that hitch their wagon to,
which is what I tell you all the time when you're hitching me to that wagon. I don't hitch my wagon.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So my response to that would be this, that there are disruptors and anarchists. It gets back to actually the sort of the radical Muslim part of it, right? there are radical elements within either party that will do stupid shit and will absolutely, put a black eye on the reputation of any sort of political ideology.
Oh, you mean like that liberal Timothy McVeigh?
Right. No. I think again, it's important for us because see what I want to do, Doyle. When you say that and when you bring up that example,
I heard he was fighting for high-speed rail.
yeah. What I want to do
Affordable
when you bring up that example is I want to now reactively start pointing out all the racist elements that voted for Trump, and I think the problem with that is we do the overall debate a disservice.
But see, can I say family for a second, though?
Because what you're doing is you're taking some anecdotal, some news grabbers, right? It's news grabbing to say a dude spraying another girl with pepper spray. It's news grabbing, but you're sitting here with me, and I will tell you right now, you represent probably 80% of the Trump voter. I represent probably 80% of the Clinton voter. Yet we're talking about the 1% of the Trump voter and Clinton voter.
Here's where I think because I did it on purpose. I did
But that's what I say too.
Right.
Like you don't let me hitch you to the things you don't want to be hitched to. Kind of agree with you that you're in a little different boat because you're kind of out of the party. You're not really loyal to them, so you don't feel like don't hitch me to them.
I'll hitch
but I'm saying,
hey,
but you don't allow us to unhitch from that element.
Here's the
But
thing.
you don't get hitched to it.
No,
Go ahead.
I'll hitch to it. Okay, so on this issue, I'll hitch to it. So on this side, I said I chose my team, right? So I'm on this team.
But what
You
about like?
hate black babies.
No, Doyle Sewell. No. See, this is where I think the difference is. I mean, I think this is the catalyst, man. I think this is the catalyst. I think this is the catalyst right here. Is I think that for the outskirts that you talk about, as much as I don't necessarily love the conservative things and all that, I think those people would cut those people out of the herd. And what I feel like from the Democratic Party,
But you don't.
No.
They point guns at federal
Dude,
officers,
I'm
and
just-
nobody
no,
says
no,
anything about it.
I'm saying every time that they talk about anything, when in fact, Republicans for a while, they wanted to try to bring in new voters by being Democrats. I mean, I think that it's gotten to be where they would say, Ku Klux Klan, we don't want you here. My feeling is that everything that's an
But
outside
they
group for
don't
the
say they
Democrats.
don't want him here. He had every opportunity to say he doesn't want him here, and he dances around the subject.
No,
because
Jason.
we know he wants their vote. He wants to win. I don't think he's necessarily a racist personally.
He said he denounced the Klan.
I watched him that whole week that thing unfolded. I don't know David Duke. I don't know who he is.
Right.
Or I don't know. Yes, he did.
He
did. You don't believe that.
No, hey, I believe that. No, in every opportunity that I see these things happen, and I keep thinking the Democrats are gonna say that is out of, and they never do. I'm on TV, I watched, and they don't.
Okay.
They almost like they say that President Obama, he likes that they go and have these protests that turn into be riots every time.
I do want to, perfect segue, because that's right where I was headed. The protest. I mean, what are we accomplishing with that? I mean, I get it. I mean, I can see, let's say more than I think my Trump friends, why these people are upset. I mean, I can. Like, the guy that ran for president came out and said very divisive, hateful things. Whether they see it that way or not, these people that are protesting certainly do, and they can't believe where they're at. I think they take it a little too far, but I guess my point is, why now? What's going on? What are we achieving with that?
Well, I think I will give the conservative side more credit than I will my own side from this standpoint. When you look at the Occupy movement and you compare that, the Occupy
The newest one.
Well,
The
old
new
one,
Tea
the old
Party
one
is
and
what
the
they're
new
calling
one,
themselves.
and you compare that to the Tea Party movement. The Democrats struggle. They just don't have that voice, that political activist voice, coherent voice, I should say, that they did in the 1960s. I think that's something that's really lacking in the Democratic side, or on the Democratic side. I think that, for instance, the Tea Party was very, very good at now. Personally, I think that it was largely an AstroTurf movement, but for the most part, they did a very good job of really coalescing around some basic things. They had their fractious groups and a lot of arguing and so forth, but they made the Tea Party into a legitimate political coalition that, in my mind, set the stage for Donald Trump and significantly shaped the political landscape of this country. The Democrats, on the other hand, and the protesters that you see now, it's much more disjointed. It's growing out of a similar frustration than that the Tea Party that we saw witnessed in the Tea Party, but the leadership is there, the leadership is not there, the organization is not there, and for that reason, there is, I will say, there is risk of it fizzling into nothing.
But isn't it just counterproductive right now that we know we're in such a divided place? Again, I just say this as a person that was very, very outspoken against Trump. Would stick my neck out there, and I'm sure really annoyed a lot of people that like me. Just like they could hang out with me and be my friend, but they see me going on Facebook over and over and over again for the better part of a year on the election because I'm taking it seriously. I'm no fan of Hillary, never really been a Democrat. I liked Obama, but Trump's scary to me. Not necessarily the man, but that we're allowing this and not the guys like Doyle. He is the best of the best. That's why he's on, and I mean that because it's hard. Yeah. It's hard to have the arguments when he's throwing a match. That's why he's here. But where we are is scary to me, that we want to govern on fear, that we think we're not respected anymore, that we held up the Supreme Court nominee for a year. It's scary to me that whether I agree with him or not, there's a huge segment of our country that just is that fed up. And I get you that it's fueled by media. I get you it's disinformation. I get you it's fake news. I get you it's the hacking. That's life. Yeah. But I'm saying, how are we to a spot that half our country could say, I'm glad he doesn't have any experience. I'm glad he's this way. I don't like any of that shit he's saying, but damn it, the guy's not lying to me. How did we get here, and how do we get out of here?
Yeah, I think that there's a significant void or a significant absence of positive vision in the Democratic Party, and I think that Trump filled that void quite nicely. I don't think Clinton represented that. I think the Democrats need to go back and say, look, dynasty politics is what lost us this election. This anointment of Hillary Clinton as the candidate lost us this election. We did not inspire the youth. We did not inspire those who traditionally in the Democratic Party.
But it's not that you didn't inspire the youth.
By the raw numbers,
you squashed them and didn't let them come up naturally.
Yeah.
So say what you want about Trump.
Okay.
The people that voted for Trump wanted to vote for Trump, and the Democrats had that. Mm-hmm. They had that in their grasp. It would have been a hell of an election, Bernie Sanders against Donald Trump. And my Democratic friends, and I'm not picking on you because I don't even know if we've had this discussion, but I have very, very, very smart Democrat friends that just were all Hillary. Bernie Sanders was their Ron Paul. Mm-hmm. Let's get this guy away. And the guys like this that could have gone either way saw the corruption in the Democratic Party with the Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the questions being fed to him by CNN and just the same old bullshit. I've never heard him say Benghazi one time. So he's not falling for some of the shit everybody else is falling for. He just sees the outright corruption, and then smart people like you and my other friends are squashing your youth movement. Squashing the people that, like me, that could vote either way. I'm all on board. I've never talked to you about this. Bernie Sanders, you vote for him if he wins, or no? I don't know the answer. I'm asking you.
Running against who?
Donald Trump.
Oh, Bernie Sanders.
Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, a fake imaginary world. Those are just the two people for president. Hillary Clinton. You see again. I mean,
but think about it though. You know, Bernie Sanders was sort of Hillary Clinton's foil in that election, and he was the guy to bring issues forth to really test the Democratic Party, its mettle, and its heart and soul to as a party. But the problem is the problem with Bernie Sanders was the fact that he would have been the Trump to the other side. He would not have been a unifying figure for the country, just as Trump is not a unifying figure now. Now, it just so happens
Did you
that
like him as a Trump guy? I know you were Trump from the very
Sanders?
beginning, but did you like him or did he bother you?
Sanders?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, I guess my positive with Sanders is I felt like he's authentic.
Right.
My negative is, I mean, it's socialism. Aren't we a capitalist country?
I hear you. Yeah, go ahead. I hear you. But I mean, okay, fair enough. I asked
yeah.
you.
So I can tell you.
Niels gave me the rolled his eyes look like, there you go.
Yeah.
We're singing
I can tell you
socialism.
right now that Sanders, on many levels, would have been just as polarizing a figure as Trump is now. I mean, that's just a fact. He's I love the guy. I love a lot of his ideas. He would have been a great.
But I guess that's my question. Isn't his ideas, isn't that what your party is?
Not
He
well.
he wants to do more
It's-
to universal health care than
It's-
she
it's-
did.
it's one
he
thing-
wants to fix our college education system more than she did. I mean, aren't his views your guys' views?
All those views are great if you can execute them on a national scale and inspire people to go with you.
I totally agree with
the problem is that he was not the guy to do it.
And I agree with
And-
you, and Niels, I get you, and your evolution makes sense to me. Honestly, it's not hard. I get you, and that makes sense. And to be honest with you, you're probably right. If it came down to, and for a while, she kind of got away from it because they kind of lost their message. But that kind of was her message for a while. It's just like, we know how to get this shit done. Let's get real. Yeah, I get it, and I think you're right, but I think this is where
Can I tell you what I
this
hear?
is where you lose this voter is that being organic,
Yeah, that's
shooting
what-
people straight.
That's
You're
where-
losing
that's
this
where I'm
voter.
surprised someone like you, because I'm thinking like, here you talk about, because you said like, two things in common. To me, Bernie Sanders would be a divider, right? And so would Trump, right? And the things I would think they have in common is I said they're authentic, right? So but they wouldn't be able to share the message. So what I hear you saying in a way is that really you need that politician who knows how to go into each segment of they go to and talk to them differently, right? I mean, if you heard that one thing, you heard Hillary Clinton, she went like, and she starts talking like she's like a black minister gal, because she was reaching. I'm like, why would you want that? I'm thinking like, to me, it's someone that brings people together is someone that is consistent in their views. And maybe you have someone that views reach broader than Trump's or Sanders perhaps that brings them in. But to me, I think you need to say, hey, here's who I am, here's what I believe. And
Doyle.
more people believe it than don't.
Hitler was consistent in his views.
You don't like assimilation. That's cool, Doyle.
I know. I mean, it's
Oh,
always
me
that.
too.
It's always that. I mean,
Assimilation.
here we go. I mean, if I was to write down words before I came in, it's like, hey, if I don't know any of these dudes, what words might they use if they do get pissed off? One of them would have been Hitler. I was like, the dude's been Hitler. You watch that shit enough, they're doing Hitler.
I didn't mean to
No,
go.
I know, but just to say,
I didn't mean to go.
what a
What's that
dick.
called?
Hitler.
What's that term called when you take it to
That's
Hitler?
great.
It's actually a term for it. I forget. But anyway, no. I guess my point is my analogy could easily fall on Hillary or Bernie or Trump if they just speak their mind and go that way. Leadership it goes beyond just shooting from the hip and speaking your mind. It's about getting shit done and inspiring people to get that shit done in an effective way.
That's how they see Trump. They see his life as nothing but proof that he is that.
But I don't know that you could have any evidence to say
I
that.
mean, he's filthy rich. That's proof.
He is an amalgamation of
He only got a
loans.
small
He's an
one, $1 million.
He's an
No,
amalgamation
just a
of borrowed
million.
money. Ultimately,
When was your last $1 million loan?
yeah, he's an amalgamation of borrowed money. That's not. We could go down a long road about whether or not he's a
I
self-made
hear you,
man or
and
not.
I'm not arguing because I see it like you do.
What's
But
that
I'm
word,
telling you what.
amalgamation?
Yeah, I hear you. I don't know. I have to look it up
Jeez,
too.
man.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break for our tech guy, and you probably won't even notice it. And then we're going to probably wrap it up with a couple last topic or two, and finish with see who wins our trivia. So maybe someday we'll have commercials right here.
No trivia.
Peck, you're gonna. I think you should just plug Peck every
Peck
commercial
Pest Control.
until he can pay
Call
rent.
Peck Pest
Yeah.
Control
Yeah.
for all your pest needs. If he messes up, you can call me at any hour and I'll fix it. I
fix
promise
it,
you.
yes.
What's your number, Peck Pest Control?
Yeah. What is your number? You should always plug him until he can pay rent on time.
He doesn't want to give you his
Okay.
number,
All right,
folks.
we'll be right back. All right, here we go. All right, we took a break. I asked these guys just what we wanted to finish with. I knew we would never get to this. I just wanted to be over-prepared. You guys have been awesome guests. We kind of tabled it and said, we know we're a divided country. We're a mess on everything. We fight on everything. So how do we get out of this spot? Whoever. I mean, how do we come together?
I've said-
Start by making marijuana legal through the federal system. Just
That might work.
Start.
Could work. I'm just a big.
I disagree.
You disagree. That was Niels.
That's your liberal friend.
Yeah.
Your conservatives are arguing for it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Doyle.
No, I'm just a big believer that, I think that the rational Americans of whatever party that you are need to cut out and shun the extremes of whatever party you are. And I think that you find more common grounds of those people. That's the one thing I can think of. I think that like I said again, to me, I have conservative friends, and I try to tell my conservative friends, hey, what do you think about this and that? We have these conversations to the golf course, and I think what, I've come up with is that, we need to be welcoming of all Americans that, love the country and love each other, and kind of like the libertarian in me says is that, anything should be okay as long as you're not hurting somebody else, but anything that once you cross that line, then it shouldn't be okay. And I think if that was the guiding principles, then we should, have an opportunity to kind of maybe make some strides.
Niels?
Well, I just, you pointed something out that we should kind of shut out those extreme elements of our society and have a real sober debate about what we need to do to fix things in this country. But one of the things that concerns me is that if you look at Trump's main priorities when he became president, on this sort of list of things that he wanted to do, those don't exist as, on the mainstream want list or to-do list. So things, for instance, like banning Muslims was not even within Trump's voting population was not that high on the list of priorities.
Okay, so he hasn't done banning Muslims. Wait, first, let's go back now.
Well, okay.
Let's go back. Here we go, because that's what you've
Okay,
done.
so-
I should have, again, my list.
banning-
Remember my list? Okay, I would have said Hitler, and then on there would have been banning Muslims.
Okay, so initially, his letter when he was running for president. So pardon me for using his words. He did say he wanted to ban Muslims. In his initial letter, he pulled that back and said he wanted to ban countries that were, quote unquote, red. So he did.
Rudy Giuliani came out on the news and said, Trump came to me and said, how do I get my Muslim ban passed legally?
Yeah. So
I mean, Giuliani
so
said that.
it's not.
I'm not even here to argue that, but I'm saying.
Yeah. So I'm sort of using his.
I'm not even saying. I'm not going to tell you what I think about it. I'm saying.
Part of the issue that I have, Doyle, is that you and I want to have a sober conversation about the real issues and problems that we're having in this country. But meanwhile, the guy that's been elected is not having sober conversations. He's tweeting at 3 a.m. about fake news. And that's the part that's a distraction to that sober conversation. You and I want to talk about real things that matter. Meanwhile, he's worried about the ratings of this, that, or the other. He's distracting himself from those types of things. He's using the bully pulpit for the most ridiculous, nefarious, outside of the ballpark type conversation, and that's the part, Doyle, that I'm having an issue with is that I do want to have serious conversations about problems that we're having. I'd like to have a conversation about globalism. I'd like to have a conversation about the tax code. I'd like to have a conversation about fixing healthcare in this country. But meanwhile, he's worried about whether or not his
Hold
daughter
on there, Nils. Now hold on there.
his daughter got dropped from Macy's or not. That's ridiculous.
Right.
He should be above that at this point, but he's not.
No, I think that's where I
He
think.
makes the story
Nordstrom's.
about that, or Nordstrom. Sorry.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get my facts straight.
Fake news.
Fake news. And I think,
down.
I do think that there is a service to be said that if you look at the mainstream news, CNN comes to mind, they are so biased to liberals, and really they can't help but be, because like we were talking a little bit about statistics.
Well, because they're articulate, intelligent, so it starts to lean. We hear you, Doyle.
Everyone knows that the truth has a left-leaning
No, because
bias.
what I think happens is you look at that, and then you look at what happens at these campuses when someone has a differing view that's from the conservative amount, and they're not even welcome there. So what happens is you get everyone that starts coming into this.
First of all, I agree with you. I agree with you, but we do know who they were protesting, right? I mean, we know what that guy's all about.
Who cares?
Okay, but like, again, first of all,
Protesting's one thing.
first of all, I probably mostly agree with you on this. I really do. I want to get that out there. But the question, that our last thing that we're going to finish on is how do we come together? You point out the protest, which I agree with you on, because I've even asked. That was one of our topics, the protest. But on the flip side of that, the guy is coming to the campus to incite and enrage and say the things he says.
Perfect.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Perfect. I mean, because in my mind, I've seen the people, Cornell West, and people in my mind, I'm sure the conservative think like saying that this guy would come. I don't know who the guy is, but to me, the way you fight those things is more speech. Let the guy go make a fool of himself.
You throw Al Sharpton, or I'm
and it's
gonna
funny
lose
you
a
talk
bet.
about
Can you say Al Sharpton?
Al Sharpton.
Okay,
You
thank
talk
you.
about my
He
friend.
said it. He said it.
I go to a guy. He's doing my thing. He's playing church music in my house the other day, doing the force. And he says, "Well, I hope my kids go to either Azusa Pacific or Liberty College." And I said, "That's really sad. Maybe it's true." I said, "I would hope that my kids would go to an institution, but they have a foundation, but I want them to hear everything. I want them to hear left. I want them to hear center. I want them to hear gay. I want them to hear right. I want them." But that's not happening now. So I see what you're saying. So I guess you're going to have that. So to me, that's what there's the product of starting the problem, because now all the people who come out of the college system, they're like-minded, right? They have the same views.
They're educated.
They're
correct.
educated, and it's true. I mean, that's
It's
it's true.
If you look at the vast majority, just about all of mainstream quote unquote conservative media, most of which, we talk about mainstream media and lamestream media and so forth. What people forget, if we talk about sheer numbers, and this is the part that frustrates me when people talk about quote unquote mainstream media. When we talk about sheer numbers in circulation, the mainstream media is conservative media. Fox News, Drudge Report, highest number of highest traffic of any aggregate news site in the world by far. I mean, leaps and bounds above any other. Fox News, cable news ratings by far blows the other cable news networks away. How is it that they are not mainstream media at this point?
I'll tell you what Jason tells me, because I say that, and he tells me because they're one entity, right? They're just one entity. The other ones are all spread out among MSNBC and CNN and whatever, the Democratic Report or whatever's on there. Democracy Now, I think it's called,
Right.
on the thing. So they got them all spread out through. So
Right.
it's a fake chart if you talk to Jason.
It's not a fake chart. It's what I say that to you. My point is, I'm exaggerating, but 100% of people that want to get this type of news tune into Fox. You can divvy up the pie and do 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20. They're still getting their source from this.
There you go.
But that's that. But I do say that.
Yeah.
To you.
But
You disagree
right,
with
so-
that?
No,
Oh,
no. I
okay,
mean, he
yeah,
asked
yeah.
me how
No,
come.
I
just said
hear you.
that's
yeah, so I would say.
But I do agree with you, though, that,
Yeah, there
that
are-
they distort it, like they demonize
Yeah,
the left when they feed
right,
into the number
right.
one
So-
thing. I get your
So,
point.
so the media ultimately, in terms of consumption of media, is as evenly divided as it's always been. The media is around to make money. First and
Absolutely.
foremost.
Yeah, sure. For
And
sure.
so
For sure.
but all of those individuals that all the conservative media,
Scoundrels of
I'm
PBR.
pretty sure the
Yeah.
vast majority of them have college educations. So
heard they might
somehow
hide
they were
that.
able to run the gauntlet of a liberal college experience and become conservative media hosts. So I don't, the colleges and universities are a free flow of ideas, as much as anyone would say. The fact is that the majority of colleges and universities have young people. Young people inherently are liberal. That is part of. That's just the. That is just a sociological
He
reality
sneezes
that's been the
funny.
same since the dawn of man. What happens is, as you get older, as you get more conservative, or as you get older, you tend to get more conservative. So then the impulse is to look at your young conservative son or daughter, or young conservative son, or rather, young liberal son or daughter, or young liberal son or daughter's boyfriend or girlfriend, and say they are a product of these liberal universities. But in reality, universities have always been liberal. They haven't. They're not a liberal indoctrination machine. They're young people.
Any places
And
where people come together is
any
liberal,
people
and that's
or
a
places
fact.
and any places where young people come together
But
generally are going to be of a more liberal
I'll
persuasion.
tell you that it seems that the
It seems that
professors
way.
now, and I'm just saying, hey, I'll even tell you this. No, I'll say here from Visadel Unified School District. Okay,
Yeah.
kids came home that their teachers had things negative to say in the classroom after the election here at Visalia. To me, that is absolutely inappropriate.
Well, as a teacher, I can tell you that
And you have ties to teaching too. I don't know if you know that.
yeah, no.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah, I mean, as a teacher, I can tell you that I even with my political points of view, and my students have very strong opinions. I consider it my job to be as impartial as possible.
Absolutely.
Because my job isn't to teach a political persuasion. My job is to help students navigate through what is a very confusing set of information, sources and so forth, and then arrive at that. In fact, my students will always ask me, well, who did you vote for? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I will always tell them, I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you someday after you graduate from college, you can go buy me coffee and I'll tell you how I feel. But while we're in this classroom, my job is for you to develop your opinion, your way, through a dissemination of facts. But getting back to the solution, if I were to...
I'm trying to get you to your date on time, just so you know.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Getting back to the solution ultimately here is that Americans need to stop buying into bullshit. And what I say is that they need to stop accepting on face value what they read and what they're told by their typical sources of information, whether it be a news organization or a politician or what have you. And they need to branch out. And they also need to get outside of their comfort zone, what's called confirmation bias, our desire to seek out information that agrees with us. Mm-hmm. They need to get outside of that, which means unplugging themselves from social media and looking at alternative points of view.
I disagree.
Yeah, of course you do.
Yeah, of course I do. As I'm going to pump this, as we're going to pump this podcast through social media. All right, I just want to finish with. We agreed that this would be our final topic. What's the solution? And we can't even agree on the solution. So I think that shows how complicated it is. I think at the end of the day, I don't know how to change the world. I just know how to do what I know how to do. And I'm never going to be a politician. That's not my lifestyle. Bringing people like you together. Recording this, if anybody sits down and takes the time to listen to this, that's what I do. I don't know what the solution is, but I
If each
guarantee.
of us in
Go
this
ahead.
room listens to this podcast, we'll start off with
We
8
do.
listeners.
I didn't say that. I should have said we do have a peanut gallery. We have people watching
You're not
the
counting
podcast.
the canine.
No,
persuasion either.
Mr. Pickles.
Yeah, another
we
two.
have Professor. What do we have? Professor Plum. What's his name?
Mr. Pickles,
No, our tech guy. What are we going with?
Mr. Woodstock.
Mr. Woodstock.
Yeah.
Professor Woodstock.
See, I knew there was a professor. There we go. We have Professor Woodstock. We have Mr. Pickles. Anyway, to me, it's hard to not like Major. It's hard to not like Niels. It's hard to not like Doyle. And without knowing who everybody is, it's like, I got the call from you. Well, what am I up to? Who's this? What are you going to do? And he comes over here. He doesn't know you. You're the Trump guy. And so when we sit down here and we do this, if anybody takes the time to listen to this stuff, that's all I know how to do. We got to stop the nonsense. So I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to finish with trivia. And I don't know if we're going to do
No
one
spelling,
big show on
man.
this. Yeah, we're close. We got Niels at 6 and Doyle at 2, Doyle at 4 and Major at 4. So here we go. Name them both are California U.S. senators.
Dianne
Boxer
Feinstein
Boxer
and
and
Boxer.
Feinstein.
It's not Boxer anymore.
I'm just going to go with no, you all got it wrong. Dianne Feinstein and Kamala Harris.
Yes,
Are-
Kamala.
Yeah, see,
Obama endorsed
thought I was
Kamala
getting a
instead of
smart
Sanchez.
panel.
After
Thought I
20
was
years,
getting a
it's tough.
smart
Why did
panel.
Obama endorse Kamala instead of Sanchez?
You're asking the wrong guy. He's retired. I might be able to get him on it. If this goes as well as I think it might, I might be able to book him in a few
There you go.
episodes. All right. The English alphabet originated from what other alphabet?
Told you I couldn't spell.
German.
No. Yes. Anybody? It's Latin, just so we know. All right. When you stand to take the eye chart, wherever you do it, with the big E on top, how many feet
15
are you?
feet.
No. How many feet are you from that chart?
20.
20 feet. That's where 2020 comes from. All right, bonus question just for you. No,
2020 comes from.
yeah, exactly.
No, it doesn't.
The big E on top. How far away can the average person stand and still make out that letter? How many feet?
40.
Minus 2 points if you get it wrong.
Nothing. Anybody just freebie?
50 feet.
200.
Wow.
If you
Oh,
if
the
you,
big E.
If you couldn't see, the second letter, you have 200 vision. Just so you know. Okay, moving on. Name one of Michael Jackson, the King of Pop's kids.
Blanket.
Blanket is not right. Anybody? Nobody knows a kid's name?
you sure? It's not blanket?
Here we go. Oh, nobody. You guys.
Prince Michael.
Okay, I'm going to give you credit for that. Prince Michael is one of his kids. He has two
Blanket or
others.
cloud
Bonus
or
just for you.
Cloud.
Paris.
Paris, there's another bonus. You're catching up. One more kid, you know it?
This was the part where they were really trying to put me down. I freaking nailed them the whole time.
last
Now
one-
they put
the
me
last
in
one's
trivia in the
Michael.
spelling contest.
Paris, Michael, and Prince Michael. You got 2 points on that. That was good. Here we go. Who was the real actor, the judge on Night Court?
Oh, Jesus.
Judge Wapner.
Good guess. He was a comedian. He did magic. He was,
I'll give his first name again, but I'll give it away.
yeah, you better not. Okay, it's over. What was his first name?
Harry?
Anderson. Harry Anderson.
I'm only coming
I
back
always
if they
tell
do
you his
sports
name.
trivia.
Other names. I'm like,
Sports trivia.
No, I know. It's supposed to be tough. All right, we got a close game here. Here we go. We're finishing up.
Sports trivia.
Who was the captain of the Love Boat?
Stubing.
Captain Stevie. Man, you're good at
The
these.
three I should have said I didn't
Did
want
you
to
watch
make
a lot of
myself
TV?
silly.
All right, bonus
The
question.
TV raised this.
Bonus
guy in the
question.
70s.
Same as before, partial credit and full credit, the theme song, The Love Boat.
I'm glad I didn't answer.
The Love Boat.
You're helping him. It's him. It's a bonus question.
I just like singing that song.
Well, I would call it the theme to the Love Boat.
You gotta sing it like the Gilligan's
Oh, comment.
No, you gotta sing it. I want words.
The Love Boat soon will be making another run. The Love Boat promises something for everyone.
Ba-da-ba.
Set a course for
Like something else.
adventure.
Yeah, I think he got that. He won.
romance. I'm giving you.
He won that one.
I'm giving you some extra
Yeah,
credit.
he
I'm
won
giving you
that
some
one.
extra credit. Remember when we karaoke?
When's the sports question coming?
What was it? Three's Company.
Come on,
We karaoke.
Yeah.
Coming
Man
back
won
on my
the sports
We
question.
karaoke a TV theme song in a
Trump
bar.
won
Here we go.
sports question.
We got to get this guy out of here. The guys that drive the brown trucks, UPS. What's that stand for?
United
Parcel
Parcel
Service.
Service.
I heard him first. He's coming back.
Loud
He's got
as-
the lead. They did.
That's a bunch of bullshit. That was.
Who would receive the Doak Walker Award?
Oh, see, this is a sports question.
Yes.
The receiver? No. Who? The line. It's one of the, like the linebacker.
Best college running back.
Running back.
All right, here we go. Who is the announcer of the Fresno Grizzlies baseball team?
Never been to. Who's this guy? No.
Harry Flugel.
Harry Carginian. You guys aren't. All right. What's Elvis Presley's middle name?
Aaron.
That is correct. Here's bonus question just for you. Who is his manager? Elvis's manager. I'll give you guys a point if you guys know it. Colonel Tom Parker. You guys heard that? All right, we're getting to the end here. What's a group of crows called?
Murder.
Man, you are coming on strong. Bonus just for you. How you know what it's called if they're owls? Ooh, from the
Nice.
peanut gallery. Anybody know an owl? Anybody? That's a parliament.
Not personally.
A parliament. All right. Bonus question. Frogs. What's a group of frogs called? Never heard this. A knot. A knot of frogs. Last question. Who sings the song Black Water?
Doobie Brothers.
Major winds. Ding, ding, ding. That's
Dude, don't tell the score.
No, you did good.
Oh, yeah.
You had a second set, a tough
I'm
second
telling you
half.
what,
You were
man.
kind of like the
Sports
Falcons in the
trivia.
trivia.
The Trump guys want sports trivia.
I give you dope
Get the
Walker.
smart guys
Look
the
at
other ones.
Dope
We
Walker.
could come up with some
Hey.
incest questions too.
Hey, I got a question.
Thank you.
You guys watch the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Okay, you watch the commercials.
Yes.
84 number.
This is the peanut gallery. Go
Number,
ahead.
84 number. When you saw the people standing at the fence, what was your first thought?
Well, I don't know. What does anybody? What are you talking about?
The wall.
I was thinking, who's going to pay for it?
That's
I wasn't.
Hey, thank you guys. I mean that. This went way longer than I thought it would. You guys were great. I can't thank you enough. Thanks to anybody out there that took the time to listen to this. I can't. This guy
Yeah.
is the MVP of this. Kurt Calkins is my tech guy. It wouldn't have happened without him. Thanks everybody. See you later. All right, man.